Good afternoon, folks. We are live once again. Let me switch everything over and we will jump into today's drawing stream. All right, we should have audio and video. I think we're good to go. Well, it has been a while since I came off hiatus and we've done a drawing stream. So I figured today would be a good opportunity since I have some actual legit project work I need to get done. It'd be a good opportunity to, one, hopefully get some stuff accomplished, but also open up the forum for ideas, since depending on what kind of stuff we come up with, it may inform how future projects take shape. So like it says on the caption for the drawing stream today, we are going to be sketching out deity concepts. And this is not something I've done on stream before for this particular topic, but it is something that I need to kind of put together for something that I'm working on way down the road. So I guess we'll start by sketching out some basic ideas, and we'll start with the themes, or kind of the through lines that we need for each piece. And I've got a list I need to pull up. Let me grab it real quick. Let me reconfigure my tablet. It's been a hot minute. I think the sensitivity and tracking is slightly off. Just run the diagnostic for the tablet itself. They figure out where it is. Oh, looks like the software updated since the last time I used it. Give me one sec to figure out where the calibration settings are. I can't find where the calibration settings are in the latest version of the software. You'd think they wouldn't have taken the ability to recalibrate the settings completely out, but wherever it is, I can't find it in the software. Well, that sucks. My stylus pen point is like 2 centimeters off from where it actually touches the screen. That's really annoying. Let me see if I can figure out where they hid the settings, because I need to fix that. It's going to throw me off for the rest of the stream. According to the first result when I search, well, there it is. That's a very small button that they hid. Okay, I got it. Much better. Alright, I fixed it. There is a calibrate button, but it's a little tiny button that hid off of the main area instead of it being very obvious. Okay. So we're going to start with theme for subject 1. We sketch out concepts. First theme is creation. Excuse my terrible handwriting. Ooh, and we have a small Raku redeem from It Be Blockhead. What's up, Blockhead? Welcome to the stream. Let me fix my model. I think I'll stand on top of my tablet. I'm gonna put the timer on. All right, so the theme is creation. First, we have to figure out what sort of body type or physical proportions we're going to need for a deity of creation. And the idea here would be, the blockhead says, you look squashable with thumb. Hello? That is true. I think it's the first time since I got this new model that I've had that redeem come up. So you can kind of see how it moves, even though I'm not really moving around while I'm drawing. So what I'm going to start with is just experimenting around with kind of a general body shape, because the point of working on these deity ideas is that they are not supposed to be humanoid. They're supposed to be kind of more otherworldly, maybe not necessarily biblically accurate angel adjacent, but the idea that their shape would be not just a person. That'll be something else I got to think about a little bit later. I think for something that would be a representation of like life and creation in general, I went with the concept of creation as opposed to just a god of life, just to give it a bit more kind of range in the concepts that I could represent. But one idea could be incorporating plant themes. And I'm starting with this really rough sort of primary sketch just to get kind of a, again, general vibe on proportions and some design ideas. Let's move you closer to the center. Hey, we got a save reminder from Bits. Bits says, imagine being small. What's up, Bits? Welcome to the stream. It's been a while. Let me revert back to a regular non-small size. Oh, no need to apologize, man. Everybody's busy. Making Christmas crack for Wazzy and the gang. Oh, nice. It's like the like chocolate bark type thing. Yeah, it must be very winter-like over there in Canada land. Surprisingly, we have not gotten super low temperatures where I am at an undisclosed part of the West Coast, but we did get pretty severe rains and flooding, and it severely destroyed the middle of my week. So while we're not getting heavy snow and inclement weather, which is pretty common where I'm at, it has been still really annoying. Like Wednesday evening, there was landslides where I live, and it took me almost 6 hours to drive home from my office. So needless to say, I was not in a super great mood when I got home on Wednesday night. Oh, I bet it's snowing like crazy over there. What I'm doing is kind of experimenting around with the idea of these accessories and adornments. What I'd like to do is, assuming we keep this sort of main pose, then we're going to go over in another layer and actually start experimenting on details and what we would put into the actual design. Because what I'd like to do by the end of the stream today would be to have some fully realized sketches and not necessarily getting into inking or anything like that, since I don't know if I'm going to do the drawings for these concepts, but I want the ideas to be completely fleshed out via, rough sketch, not just pose primaries like this, but also maybe experimenting around with color paletting and what we want to do, and we'll see how many of these we can get done today. Okay. I think this is a good start. It says, gonna play some Arc and Lurk. I still love your new model, my guy. Oh, thank you. I'm still kind of getting used to it, but it definitely has a lot more expression to it. I'm tweaking the settings in VTube Studio here or there, but it's kind of like driving a new car. But good luck in the art. Catch some dubs. Okay, before we start getting into the actual design, what I want to do is come up with some sort of styles for the actual facial features, and then that should inform kind of how we start experimenting around with the rest of the body. It says, got it for my birthday, so I'm happy. Oh, when was your birthday? I'm really bad at remembering birthdays, so if it was recently, happy belated birthday. Happy turning 23. Oh, it's next week? All right, well, happy birthday in advance. It says you're early. I'm turning 28. I'm not that baby. You are compared to me. It says you're just a little guy in my eyes. Well, it's no secret that I'm old. Our respective communities don't know exactly how old, but they know old enough to be most of the people in the group's father or grandfather. It is what it is. Okay. So what I'm sketching here is just some ideas as a side profile facing this way about what this thing's actual head would look like. The idea behind a lot of the deity concepts would be that, again, they're not supposed to look like people per se, but have kind of this air of divinity. And so the idea would be, if looking at something like this, you're trying to figure out, is that a helmet or is it the actual head and face of the creature? And I kind of like the idea of maybe vines or tendrils that are kind of wrapping around parts of the body and taking a lot of plant imagery, but it doesn't solely have to be like a pure plant design, since the idea of a god of creation isn't just plants, but life in general. maybe down a little. Kind of like the idea that the texturing on whatever this material is, whether it's supposed to be like a shell or more metallic like armor, would still have this weathered and worn look, like something that's existed for a while, since that's the whole kind of concept and idea behind the deities, right? They've been around for an unfathomable amount of time and such. They need to look like they've existed throughout time. For kind of context and explaining this project a little bit without giving too much away, the universe and lore that we've kind of built through Blood Moon Rites and Lightbane Temple, actually, same universe, and the idea of gods that govern a lot, like we've talked about on those projects. Just mentioning this because Bits is here. The avian deity is going to be one of these that I don't know if we'll get to that one on stream today, but coming up with the more fully fleshed out concept of what that particular deity looks like would be something that is part of this project. The idea being a council of gods, not just one that we've seen sort of in the background from one of the music releases. And so this god of creation, which I'm not going to give any names, I've already written all that stuff out, but this is one of the members of that particular group. I actually do like the way that helmet and sort of head shape here looks. I don't think I need to redesign much. So if we take that and we start actually sketching it out over the primary, now that's going to be the next challenge, is taking that, and again, it doesn't have to be perfect, kind of a rough sketch here is really all I need at the moment. But based on what we have here, we kind of have, I think this is going to be more of a almost triangular shaped face, and taking the side render and making it 3/4 is what I'm doing here. Zoom in a bit. Could flesh out the design of these horns on the actual head itself to be kind of more antlerish. And these things right here, they're starting to look more like eyes, but that wasn't really the intention behind what you see here on the side profile. It's supposed to be part of like either a decorative inset or a special coloring, not necessarily the eyes themselves. We'll have to kind of play around with that a bit. Okay, now we're going to start sketching out ideas for the torso. Okay, we can mind the proportions, but we don't have to follow necessarily the exact layout of the sketch primer underneath. It's more of a guide. Now for the arms, I think I want to go a little bit less spindly and thin. Maybe we add some additional detail or accessories onto the arms, just so they're not quite so stick-like. Maybe we can include the same sort of vine kind of motif on the limbs as well. Keeping in mind this sort of blade-like projection down here still needs to be sketched into. I think that's going to be kind of a big part of the design as far as being unique. Let's go ahead and save our progress before I forget again and an hour goes by. These parts that wrap around the lower torso, I'm just experimenting around with, again, keeping the idea that they're kind of root tendril-like. I'm going to figure out how to redo these markings on the head. For now, I'm going to kind of make it just almost more like a helmet looking for now. Another idea that wasn't part of the original concept over here, but it's sort of just kind of emerged as I was erasing some details. Instead of it being just a helmet where you're trying to figure out where the individual features like the eyes are, we could give this particular god an actual eye like in the middle. Which is very different kind of vibe. I don't dislike it. Okay, now let's work on this kind of cage looking thing underneath. I'm gonna follow the same shape, but maybe add a bit more kind of roughed in texturing. It doesn't need to be symmetrical on the other side. Similar shape, but the texturing doesn't need to be identical. I haven't quite decided if this is supposed to be, again, kind of like a tree root texture, or if this is more kind of like an ornate, metallic, like decorative thing. Kind of leaning more towards something organic, like tree roots, at least in kind of shape and texture. And I do think I want to keep the kind of decorative adornments wrapped around the different parts. Kind of give these ornamental things different shapes too. So it's not just like a copy pasted design across all the different parts of this section here. Okay, let's do another save here. Kind of clean the sketch up a little. And I also want to do these kind of floating crystal things. I want to keep those with the design. Here, if we hide the primary, it'll be a little bit less busy. We can kind of clean up what we have here. Okay. Might need to kind of clean up the upper torso. Looks a little bit muddy and it's hard to tell what the shape is. I'll leave this one up on the side. If we kind of retrofit this design into what we did over here on the right, what we essentially did was we created this section here. It's more sunken in and recessed into the skull itself and made this like an actual eye. I think I like that better ultimately. Okay, let's add in the floating crystals on the right layer. The idea I was going for would be like these floating prism looking things that are bound with the same root tendrils that we had on the actual creature itself. Put this other one kind of in line, like they're sort of orbiting, which was originally the idea. I don't know why I put this one all the way up here. Okay, I think what we can do is we can merge this layer and a sketch of the head. There we go. I'm gonna label these so I can get to them easily later. here's our first idea. I think it's a good start. I may go back and tweak things later. Again, I haven't figured out quite how I'm going to realize these concept designs yet. Just based on my previous experience, I'm leaning towards finding an artist that can take these and flesh them out and realize them into fully like inked and rendered images. If I do it myself, it's going to be a considerable effort. I'd rather have all of the designs kind of sketched out, and then if I could find an artist that specializes in creature design this time, and maybe we can partner for the rest, because I also have to do the music. But we can go ahead and move on to another one. This one took almost an hour to do, so at this rate we'll get 2 of them done by the end of the stream. Okay, I have these in a certain order, but let me look at the list and see what sounds interesting next. So we started with creation. There is knowledge, like wisdom and knowledge. That might be an interesting one to try. Some ideas for this one. So just like the last one, we're going to start with kind of a basic primary shape. And then from there, we'll look at sketching out like the head design. Again, exact same process, and then actually sketching in details for the fully realized figure. This one is going to have multiple limbs. Kind of going right into detail sketching for this one, and that's okay. What we can do is maybe I'm gonna pull it back from going all in with the details and figure out what we're gonna do with like the limbs and everything first. Scale you down a little bit. That's supposed to be a scroll. I know it sucks. I'll fix it later. Okay, this will sort of do for the rough proportions. I'm just thinking about what I want to add, 'cause I kind of know the route I want to go with this particular one. Again, let me put this on the next layer so that when I drop the transparency down, we don't lose it. But this one is knowledge/wisdom. We'll start on the same layer and keep it all together. But for this one, for the head, one thing I immediately thought of when I was originally writing out this particular idea for this particular deity, when you think wisdom, knowledge, something that's supposed to be very kind of wise, all-knowing, and I kind of like the idea that I originally got from Bloodborne years ago, but the concept of perception and insight, being able to see or perceive things at a level beyond normal mortal creatures. And so I think one of the big design elements I want to include for this particular one would be eyes. And so for this one, I think it's going to kind of look more like an not iron, but an armored helmet. And see what we can do with this whole concept of eyes. Have a more elongated, tall shape in general. Zoom in, work a little bit closer here. We'll make it symmetrical as far as the patterning on the eyes. Or sort of the layout, rather. 3 and 3. I'm thinking we kind of give them a bit more definition around so they look like they're kind of more sunken in as opposed to like on top of the skull. We'll scale that down a little bit. There we go. now we start sketching in the rest of the details. Let's work on the body and limbs, and do something with the lower body. I kind of stopped there since that was supposed to be just sort of the rough shape, and that we're putting in the details can actually get more specific in what's part of the lower torso. And we'll go ahead and save our progress here before I forget again. I had this idea for this lower section, maybe adding chains. Not necessarily bound to anything, but could have them maybe coming off of this section here. These are really kind of rough chains, but they're meant to be like metal linked chains. this part hanging down here in my mind is supposed to be kind of like a draping decorative fabric that maybe can have some sort of like runic writing, like arcane symbols. Okay, now I get to work on the limbs. Oh, maybe change these things to eyes. I kind of mentioned that was going to be something I wanted to emphasize in the design elements for this one. Ooh, I have an idea. Something for the limbs. This idea that the knowledge deity has these kind of decorative sashes. As I poorly try and wrap them around both the limbs here. Taking an idea from kind of what you see on scholar robes. There's two. We'll have another one wrapped in kind of a different pattern around the other set of arms here. Maybe this could be holding a book. If I was really ambitious and or wanting to torture whomever gets commissioned to do this, you could put like runic writing on these so it's more kind of like a parchment or scrolls themselves, or even just like an embroidered patterning on the sash itself. I think this would be fabric. This wouldn't be like paper itself. Okay, that's where the second sash is going to start. Put the arm a little bit further down here. And I do like the idea of having the hand holding onto the scroll here. This one doesn't have to be necessarily wrapped around the second arm, since it doesn't have to be completely symmetrical. I like the idea that this one's kind of just falling over the second one. Give some texture to the actual sashes themselves. Hey, Deity's here. Deity says, "Hey, Raku, how's the drawing coming along? And you in general?" I'm doing alright. This was a very challenging week in general for a couple different reasons I talked about early on the stream. Just work shenanigans, and we've had some bad weather where I live, but other than that, I am good. How are you? And as far as the drawing goes, we are working on our second concept sketch here, and the whole project for today, in case you didn't hear me rambling about it earlier, is we are sketching out concepts for deities. And if I scroll up here, my chicken scratch handwriting, this one is supposed to be a representation of knowledge and wisdom. Yeah, weather's not been great, but survived it. It's all that matters. Let me zoom out a little bit here since I've been so close. You can kind of see what I've been doing. But the idea for a deity of knowledge and wisdom, and one thing I was thinking about doing to the idea of eyes, insight and perception, specifically for a deity representing knowledge and wisdom. Let me flip over to the other one. First one we did earlier on in the stream. Deity says, awesome design. Oh, thanks. It's still very rough, and I haven't quite figured out how I'm going to flesh out these designs for a future project, but the first one we did, which was down here, was this one, which was a god of creation or life. Kind of both. Instead of going really general like god of life, said creation as kind of more of a catch-all. This one's be very kind of plant-like and maybe more nature-aligned-ish. So you can see kind of the contrast in designs as we've gone. Deity says, I like the side profile on the other one. Is it a helmet or a head? Are you talking about the creation one? This one, if you're talking about this one right here that I have pulled up, yeah. It's meant to be a head, but having some elements that kind of resemble a helmet. And I think that's going to be a bit of a through line on a lot of these, since design-wise, you're supposed to kind of wonder, you know, is this something being worn or is this the actual head of the deity? And I think when it's fully fleshed out and realized, it's going to probably be less ambiguous. But what we kind of workshopped as I was working on this one in particular was the head kind of became a little more antlery. And that's why it looks a little bit different in 3/4 profile, and actually didn't have the central eye in the middle initially, but I think I like that better than what I had before. I don't know if you saw the concept art that I did for 2 years ago on Halloween for Lightbane Temple, the helmet and mask design that I did for some of the characters. It's got some similar design elements to what I'm doing here, because there is a bit of a connection between what we're seeing in these deities and the characters that were part of that story. And so for this one, for the deity of wisdom and knowledge, similar idea. I do think this would be kind of like an armored or protective covering over the head. And it's a little bit hard to see because it's very rough, but the eyes are meant to be recessed in so they're not on top. Okay, Deity says that was before I started watching you. I would encourage you to check out the Lightbane Temple. You don't necessarily have to go in to watch the stream where we debuted the project, but in the compilation video, there are characters that go with each of the tracks. And there's like an angelic faction and a more like druidic nature-based faction. And so a lot of the kind of style of the designs for their outfits and whatnot, it's going to be similar to what you see here. Yeah, it's hard to believe that project was a couple years ago now. I really liked the tracks that came out of Lightbane Temple. It was my first sort of foray into writing a more cohesive story with the musical tracks. In addition to just designing characters, there is an actual story being played out as the tracks progress. It's more kind of cohesive than Blood Moon Rites, which is more of a rough narrative. But I got to experiment with some new styles for Lightbane Temple, trying to combine like electronic type music with some more, I call it churchy, because I incorporated kind of more choir and not necessarily gospel, but more kind of choirish stuff in addition to the regular type of electronic stuff I do. I don't know why I keep going back to the shape of these eyes. If I was doing a fully realized drawing, I'd make sure they were a lot more kind of consistently shaped. Deity says, church music is good. I'm not religious myself, but I enjoy church music sounds once in a while. Yeah, what I tried to incorporate for that particular project, if you're curious, is kind of more organ that paired with the kind of choir synths, since, again, talking about two different factions at war, the angelic faction had the more kind of like big organ choir, kind of cathedral-y type of music, and the nature-based faction was a bit more kind of organic sounding. And then as things went, there's a bit of kind of overlap and blend. It's going to be interesting coming up with ideas for this particular release that I'm working on right now. Let's go ahead and save our progress here. Okay, so without just rehashing the same elements over and over again, I think we can leave the knowledge, wisdom, deity here for now. I think it's a good start. And we can actually probably start another one, at least getting some of the rough structure down. Doesn't necessarily have to be completely finished. But let me pull up my list. Will be a good third one to do. do rebirth. This one actually has a through line to another project that I'm working on. Oh, I guess we put it here, it's fine. So this one is rebirth, and there's some specific things that I want to do with this one. This one's basic body shape. The design elements themselves we'll have to kind of flesh out because I haven't done anything for this one before. But the body shape, this is not a snake. It's supposed to be like a worm. So I don't think... we could go kind of the like centipede or millipede route, but trying to take this and turn it into like a deity form is going to be interesting. Okay, so this is going to be just basic sketch primary. Very simple for this one, just because we need a long shape. But now, for the actual face itself. This one's not going to be side profile. This one's going to be head on. It's a little easier to sketch because I'm going to need this one to be head on. Okay, let's zoom in a little bit and kind of dial in some of the elements. Might be able to just copy this directly onto the body. In fact, rather than have it be a separate render, we're going to just go straight into the details here. I have an idea. I don't know. Can't remember if I've seen a design that really does this. So maybe it'll be kind of unique. But keeping with the overall long body and worm slash serpentine, but we're gonna have them be disconnected in sections. Hopefully it'll be clear what I'm trying to do here with this. Ooh, we got a bot. First one of the day. Be gone. Okay, so my idea here with having this kind of disjointed multi-body segment worm creature would be that the sections themselves would be kind of connected by like a type of ethereal energy. And I have to think a little bit about how many of these I want to actually draw. But if we kind of zoom out, maybe we have 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe like 6 different sections. Deity says that's what I was picturing in between the sections. Energy or something energy based. Yeah, kind of like an ethereal spine that's connecting the sections, but because it's energy and not something organic, then there's no limit to how this particular creature can move. Okay, what we can do is go in here and flesh some of the details out a bit. These bits here are meant to be kind of spikes on the underside or side sections. They're not meant to be legs per se. Okay. I was debating whether or not to give this thing arms, but we'll keep with the idea of it being purely body segments. Deity says energy arms, maybe. Oh, that's an interesting idea. Could have the limbs coming out made of the same type of ethereal energy, which would make it so they could be like any sort of length. Yeah, that's a cool idea. I like it. An idea of them being kind of more amorphous, but still resembling limbs, with some good transparency effects. That would actually look pretty interesting. I also like the concept or the idea that this thing's actual body is the energy that you see connecting all the segments and being the limbs and whatnot, and all of that energy is inhabiting this sort of shell which acts like armor. So if, let's say all of the visible sections were destroyed, there'd be this giant like serpentine energy creature, and then that's the actual god itself. Deity says the design itself is good, and if you're not sure with the arms, make them energy that can be changed or not even shown when the being doesn't need them. Hope I explained that well. Yeah, I had another idea kind of in line with that too, where right, this is sort of the right here, the upper body section, but I like the idea that the limbs can kind of come out of any of these other sections too. So this thing could probably have 8 sets of limbs if it wanted. And so maybe a good way to kind of show that in the design would be to add more kind of energy things kind of around, not necessarily part of the body, but probably do like a different layer for that. But the ethereal energy itself is kind of coursing around the segments too, in addition to just flowing through them. So you could do some kind of cool lighting and transparency effects to show this thing's kind of wrapped in energy and it can materialize wherever it wants. But these kind of shell pieces form an actual like physical manifestation of its form, but are kind of a tether. They're not really indicative of what it really looks like. Yeah, it's kind of like a skeleton or like a framework. I think the main idea is that this particular deity's body is a bit more intangible, which is kind of fitting for something that represents the concept of rebirth. It can reform and change its features a bit as necessary. Getting a good representation of that in like a fully rendered form is going to be challenging, but I think there's a lot of potential. There's a bit more of a design contrast than the one we were just working on. Both of them, actually. Here, we'll put rebirth. Okay. Yeah, that's a good. It's a good sequence of ideas. I appreciate you contributing that, Deity. That's one of the reasons why I like to do these brainstorming sessions on stream, so people can tune in, because it's a lot easier to bounce ideas off of the chat and just kind of see, which is kind of what I've done for a lot of my other projects. A good portion of them I didn't do fully with the stream, with chat, but for this one, I definitely welcome the ideas. Because I can't remember if I mentioned this near the top of the stream, but for this particular project, there's 10. There's 10 deities, one of which is the avian deity from Blood Moon Rites, so we kind of have an idea of what that one's going to look like. It's a bird. But that's 9 other ones that need dedicated designs that are fully fleshed out. And we have done 3 of them. So that's 4 of 10, essentially. I'm going to do this process and sketch out the actual specifics for the avian deity, but I'm not starting from scratch on that one since we know it's bird-like. Deity says slow and steady. He'll get him down. Well, there's a reason why I'm starting a lot of this stuff almost a year in advance. And then I need to actually spend some time writing the songs themselves. I thought I saw the ad thing pop up. Stupid ads. We'll wait for the ads to wrap up, and then we will get ready to wind the stream down itself. Make sure I save too. Okay, the ads are done. I did scale them back a little. I think they're every 40 something minutes instead of every 30 now. It's very annoying. Let's see who is online that we can raid. Oh, hey, Blue's online. I haven't seen him in a while. I think our schedules just haven't really coincided. It looks like he's cooking. That looks like an interesting experiment. Blue is one of my VTuber peers. He plays a lot of factory auto sim stuff. It looks like he's doing IRL cooking today. We can head over there and see how the kitchen escapades are going. Let me cue this up. Okay, let me make sure I jumped onto the right one. And we will call that a stream for today. We will be back tomorrow, I think around 2 p.m. Pacific, or a little earlier if I can jump on earlier. And we will hopefully be finishing Zelda 2 Remastered. Hopefully. I want to at least get through the last dungeon and see what the post-game stuff is, but we shall see. But in the meantime, thanks to everyone who came and hung out. We will be revisiting this particular Deity project probably in the near future. So I appreciate all of the input and feedback. So hope everyone has a good rest of your morning, afternoon, or evening, and I'll see you tomorrow if all goes according to plan. Now let's see how the cooking's going on Blue's stream.
Rinse out my garlic press real fast.
Brackerton has made it in time for the drivers' meeting.
Yes, we're cooking. We're cooking right now. We're doing our best to cook. We have just taken our bread out of the oven, which I'm going to turn into garlic bread, which is then going to go into what we are making, which is going to be used as